Hello and welcome back to the Mentoring Monday podcast. This is your host, Francesco. I hope you're doing well. This is another part of the OWASP series and application security focused event that the Mentoring Monday is doing, and we're going to see more and more of this during this month. I really hope you enjoy application security as much as I do. If not, skip all the two other episodes. But this session is with a friend, Jim Manico, owner of Manicode Security, and organizing our LocoMoco Security Conference in Hawaii. And Jim is a good friend, is a person with an enormous positive energy and a person with an enormous knowledge. And usually this mix of people tend to be all over your face. And one of the amazing characteristics of Jim is, despite him being very knowledgeable, he's very approachable, he's very humble, is down to earth, and is a guy that you want to as your friend. And I've been honored to meet him, to talk to him, and to today have it in the podcast. And he's a very crazy guy. So the episode had gone a little bit crazy with crossbow and going all medieval on application security, and it's really, really fun. So I hope you guys really enjoy this podcast as much as I did to realize it. And I'd like to thank also Zoe, my co-host, because she's been fantastic during these past seasons and upcoming one. There will be more and more of application security coming in 2020. Let's say it right, 2020. Yeah. So I hope you enjoy and let me know what you want to see. Again, this is another episode that I try with video. So I hope you enjoy. Otherwise, if you don't enjoy, if you enjoy the audio more, let me know. Thank you very much. Enjoy Jim Manico on Cybersecurity Mentoring Monday podcast. All righty. Hello. Do we have Jim and we have Zoe on the call?
Hello, Francesco.
Hello, Francesco.
How are you doing, guys, with the crossbow?
Doing great. I'm ready for battle here.
We need to comment this because we're not gonna have the video, so I'd like everybody to know that Jim is in a full medieval and crossbow for this, and go full medieval on application security. That's enough for the record.
Symbolism is the battle against legacy software, Francesco.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That should be your new profile picture. I loved it.
To be clear, though, Appsec is about strategy, not tactic, despite what might be implied by the crossbow. Just putting that out there, right, Jim?
Sure. Well, you got your strategy and you got your taxes. I think you need a little bit of both. I'm a little in tactical mode. I had a little in tactical mode today, but we'll see. We'll talk. I promise we'll talk strategy.
Good.
I think we need to talk both ends because we need tactical solution, and a lot of the clients that I work with is tactical solution. But before we dive in Appsec, I know everybody is keen. Let me introduce everybody. Actually, let's do a round of introduction. Jim, do you want to start, and then Zoe, and then myself?
Sure. My name is Jim Manico. I'm the interviewee for today. I've been a member of the OWASP Foundation for a little more than a decade, and I'm a application security enthusiast. This is a topic, it's my job, it's my passion. I have a lot of fun doing it. And I've been writing software my whole life. And I think that insecure software is becoming one of the most damaging problems facing modern society. So, I've dedicated my career to teaching developers how to write secure code. That's me in a nutshell.
And you're owner of a security training consultancy company called Manicode Security, right?
Yep. I'm the founder.
Just know for the record.
Yeah, I'm the founder and the primary educator of Manicode Security. It's my company, and I have a host of different educators who travel the world and deliver secure coding education from a variety of different specialties. Yeah.
And fantastic entertainment when you're on the stage. And Zoe, go ahead.
I'm Zoe Braderman. I chair the OWASP Women in Appsec committee, and I've been involved in several OWASP initiatives and projects and conferences. And I am an independent consultant and educator.
And I'm your host, Francesco Cipollone. I'm heading up the security consultancy NSC42, as well as the Cloud Security Alliance for UK and Ireland. And I'm more than an application security enthusiast. I'm an application security survivor. Let's go it this way. So I say we started with what was the most painful application security element that you're facing, Jim? What's the most painful thing in application security that you see nowadays?
I think
in
the
both
most
training and
I think clearly the most painful problem in application security is handling the problem of legacy software. We all have software, there's some of it that was built 10 to 20 years ago that still serves a critical function. And having to go back to what's probably really insecure software, insecure processes around it, maybe it's not even being developed anymore, but it still serves a critical function. Having to go back and remediate vulnerabilities of a legacy code base is expensive and it's painful. There's no quick fix. It just takes a mammoth amount of time and re-engineering to bring legacy software up to par with modern security standards. And and everyone wants a quick fix. They want to slap up a firewall or run some scanners but the reality is it takes a combination of security assessment and mammoth re-engineering in order to take legacy software and fix, design problems and coding problems. And that's just expensive and time consuming, and you get no functionality benefit from doing that. But if you want secure software, you have to. And that's what I see as really the most painful and expensive problem in application security today.
So how do we avoid keep on putting tactical solution? Because I see that every day and day people, both want to make money, both want to introduce new functionality, company wants to make money. So how do we avoid actually for critical software, for critical asset, how do we avoid putting yet another tactical solution? What's your take? How do you sell that to a boss? Like, this is a really painful thing, but this is something that we have to do.
It's in my experience, companies rarely really want to do application security. They often want to check a box. They want to do some stuff. They want to spend a little bit of investment in it, but it's rare where a company wants to really dedicate themselves to secure software because, look, we're to a large degree, we're new at this, and we're set up to lose because developers didn't learn how to do secure software in school. The languages, the frameworks that we're all using are largely insecure by default. The third-party libraries we depend on is a mammoth security problem. And things like DevOps, where we want to automate security testing, it's not trivial to set that up. And it requires a kind of culture change to really move into the world of automated security testing. And even if you do all the best practices in the world, you're reviewing for third-party libraries, you're proactively building secure software, you're running every scanner on the planet, you're still going to have problems with business logic and access control, things that the automation doesn't find. Then you need to hire pen testers and manual reviewers, and that's a mixed bag. And just to really do secure software with today's technology is expensive. It's time consuming. It requires a culture change. It requires maybe changing dates, setting new requirements. It's such a challenging issue and expensive issue. And yet people want to get to market. They want to get functionality out the door. So that's that race to hit a date and that competition to get the most functionality out is often in competition with real security engineering. And so
I couldn't agree more that it's challenging. I agree, and I couldn't agree more that is a cultural transformation, is looking at the application as a holistic, from a design, build, test, operation, and DevOps is for me, DevSecOps is for me integrating security in all these elements, not just looking at the automation. mean, for me, DevSecOps is it's just all about people rather than just tools and automation. That's what I keep on spreading. So what's your take on it?
Yeah, it definitely is a major part of all of that. Just the human element and the teams and incentives, trying to put values and, essentially from the view of assets and winning, into developers and, executives' mindsets about why it's important and how much they can save. It's just human nature, how much they'll save, how it'll benefit them, usually in monetary terms. I'm not just cynical, I'm honest.
No, it's true. And probably on that take, I had a really interesting conversation in one of my dev training where I said, how do you make application security a priority? How do you make fixing a vulnerability a priority? And somebody from the development team actually came up and saying, do an audit. So do external audit so that effectively they're linked to regulation, they're linked to a monitoring path for the business. The only time where business actually dedicate time to us, to give time to us to actually fix a vulnerability. Have you come across stuff like this, Jim, Zoe?
Yeah, I mean, we see that like in Europe, you have GDPR. We have several different laws. The strongest one in California around data privacy, and I think those laws they're not perfect. They have plenty of flaws. There's regulations difficult when it comes to regulating privacy and software and different IT systems. However, these laws are forcing a culture of security onto a lot of companies more than anything else I've seen in the modern era. And so that's one thing from a legal point of view, which I think is a good thing. The other thing I want to note is that as we move to the clouds, a lot of the cloud software platforms like GitHub, it's such a common platform to base development around that a lot of the security testing is being built into these modern platforms. And so I think these are totally different things, right? We have GitHub providing like third-party security analysis and a whole new platform to do testing and reporting on the third-party software world, and just being able to integrate security testing into GitHub as becoming pretty standard. I think that's a really big deal. So like I can literally spin up GitHub, click a few buttons, and have a relatively DevOps environment from a CI/CD point of view and security testing like that. And in most companies, setting that up is expensive and painful. So with these modern platforms, I can snap my fingers, click a few buttons, spend a little money, and I got this whole testing automation world dialed in. And then again, from the other side of the fence, we have these laws around privacy, which are really beginning to force at least some measure of security engineering as part of those laws if you really want to do data protection properly. And I think I like those two areas of forward momentum that's going to really encourage more secure software development in the future and the present day.
Definitely. The law is another incentive that often works, similar to, monetary incentives as far as harsh, kind of harsh wake-up calls and, incentives that work. Essentially, it's definitely a push. And having, cloud security service providers specifically and specific tools for that, in addition to certain aspects ingrained within cloud services, privacy by design movement in general, all that research.
So are we gonna see more and more automated platform with effectively the CI/CD and the security library codes that's completely integrated into a single product? So effectively it's a snap-in, I deploy my code, I test it, and I check it out, like what you have in GitHub. Jim, do you think we're going to see more and more of those things?
I need you to repeat the question, but first, I got a private message from Guamaro, who's like, why are you sitting there in a crossbow? Is someone going to attack you? No, I'm wearing a medieval crossbowman warrior outfit with my medieval crossbow to really help symbolize the struggle we face when dealing with security in legacy software. That's the symbolism of the outfit I'm wearing, Gamarl. Gamarl, does that help answer your question? Is that a good answer? So go ahead. Yes, there we go. So go ahead, Francisco. Ask me that question one more time, please.
So how do we go full Medioeva in a CI/CD pipeline? How do we make it less painful? The question is really, are we going to see more and more products that have the security the security testing completely integrated in the platform, like GitHub, where all the testing stage are effectively done? It's just a tick in the box or check box.
Well, GitHub for like individual projects, click, and you have some pretty decent security testing rolled out. And I mean, every security scanner I know of, especially in the code security world, tends to integrate. So Ivana would say, did they have treadmills in the Middle Ages? I think they went by different names back then, Ivano. Yes, there is a treadmill. I'm trying to keep the weight down, gotta keep the exercise up. And so, okay, so where was I? If you're a big enterprise with your own code repository, then getting a DevOps and Francesco, I really minimize DevOps, DevSecOps to be security automation. I know there's a culture and there's people and there's process. No. In my mind, I really reduce all of DevSecOps to let's automate some security testing. That's just my very subjective take on it. I know it's not, a lot of people don't agree with me. Just bear with me. And if you're if you're a big company with lots of different software projects and different repositories, then setting up automated security testing is non-trivial, and you really have to experiment with it. Like, you'll set up a couple tests today and run those through your pipeline, and then they may stop the build or be too aggressive. Then you want to pull some tests back, or maybe you put some tests in and now the build takes an extra 10 minutes to run, and so maybe you want to dial that back. These tests were good, let's roll those across more projects. A lot of people want to just buy a DevOps and be done with it. You can't do that. It requires a professional DevOps engineer, DevSecOps engineer, to be fine-tuning and tweaking the different automation options on a regular basis until you achieve some kind of project stability. One of the biggest anti-patterns I see in the automation security testing part of DevSecOps is when people like just turn a pipeline on and add some security testing and then force all their teams to use it and they think they're done. And that's a big failure. That will stop development really quickly. So it really takes experimentation and the ability to customize tooling and customize rules for individual tools across every project. And that's time consuming, and that's expensive and time consuming, right? It's non-trivial.
Yeah, yes. But no, I agree and I disagree with you on one side. I think DevSecOps is more than that. It's also educating. It's also on the education side, and especially on. I mean, I've seen projects where they developed and they had like security automation, and that's it. They went away and that's it. And I said, well, what about how people are going to use those results, or how they know what to fix and how to fix it? So it's the education part.
I was talking to one of the heads of Netflix application security, and they were like, we don't want to do security. We don't want to teach our developers about general security principles. We just want to, we have so much in our framework. We just want to teach them how to use our framework properly. And that's enough. And that kind of like horrified me. And to this day, it still horrifies me in that a company will not commit to wanting to really teach developers about security. They just want to they think that they can automate everything, put it in the framework, and developers can just go ahead and write code and they get security. I don't think that's really possible in the modern era. I know Netflix is a real mature company. They do a lot of great work in that area, but I mean,
it's challenging.
In my experience, nobody can just write code and have the world of automation protect them. It does require,
No, it also
knowledge, especially around the
I agree.
domain and similar.
And for me, is also for a commitment to the organization as a whole, to the humanity as a whole, that companies that have the money to actually educate developer about doing security should do so, because then we create a generation of developers that are more with a more security mindset. So if you're an enterprise, you can actually invest in making the world a little bit better. If you're a small enterprise, you can't afford application security training because it's expensive. And OWASP is a good, I want to touch on OWASP and all the good material, because a lot of the folks out there don't know how much material is out there, like ASBS, like the top 10, like the dependency checker, all the stuff that OWASP has done that could take application security a step forward, even if you don't have a big bucks or big budget to actually spend on tooling.
Yeah.
But
I wish I had a threat model as easy as Netflix to begin with. Like, come on, popping a Netflix account is not the worst of.
But they had it easy. On one end, they had it easy because they started on a tech stack that is quite modern, so they can start from there. But for example, on the finance industry, where I operate a lot, we still have COBOL and TLC.
Exactly.
How the heck do you do application security in COBOL? And I'm doing application security in COBOL, and is dialing back 15 years of my life. It's like, no, legacy is pre-legacy. I consider C and C++ legacy, but not COBOL. I consider COBOL almost prehistoric, but we still have a lot of that stuff.
I almost consider Java to be legacy these days in the advent of new languages.
I agree.
Yeah, it's like the new C++ to some degree.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's complex and cumbersome, and it's not as modern. And you've been all over Java, right?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Java. I still use it in different projects, but I put it. It's maybe legacy is not the right word, but it's
become a legacy.
Yeah, it's like
it's growing gray hair. Java is growing gray hair.
Salt and pepper.
Java is sexy.
Everywhere. Most every company has some Java out there. It's like we have a bunch of standard frameworks in it. It's part of the Android ecosystem as well. Legacy is not the word. It's just everywhere. And it's just it's become like a pretty standard language. It's been around since the late 90s. Java 1.0.2 was around in 1997 on Netscape 3, and so it's just been around for a long time. And there's a lot of old Java that companies depend upon that's difficult to secure. It's difficult to remediate.
Yeah.
So there's
saying Java is like.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Ivano was saying Java is like pineapple on pizza. This for us Italian is really blasphemy.
Wait, you're saying pineapple on pizza is blasphemy?
Yeah, for Italian it's like
you may never go to Hawaii. You are banned.
Yes, do you know who you're talking to? LocoMoco said.
I know. That's why I'm pulling your legs.
Ivano, you could have ham and pineapple pizza. Is Hawaiian pizza. It's the pizza. I've lived in Hawaii for 20 years, so you may not go to Hawaii. I'm sorry, you're banned now. Unless you try pineapple pizza.
I'm fine with it. It's it's an abomination. That I said it.
Okay, let's not start a religious war.
My favorite. I like to get I like a cheese pizza, and I like to have a little ketchup and mustard that I can dip my pizza into.
Yes.
That's
And jalapenos.
I know you like the hot stuff, Zoe, don't you? She eats handfuls of hot peppers for fun.
I drink hot sauce. I'm gonna join one of those contexts. I'm gonna make mad money. Secure code and survivable hot sauce drinking.
Like the hot stuff.
Yes. Otherwise I don't feel alive.
Yeah, we should do Appsec and red pepper or like cayenne pepper and
all of the above. Ghost pepper.
The more legacy you go, the hotter the sauce becomes. Here you go.
I like this.
Oh,
We're
I
gonna
love
make this
CTF,
a
so we do-
standardization.
Yeah, let's do a CTF with hot sauce.
Yes.
Let's go back to pizza for a sec. So Ivano, I'm of Sicilian descent. I'm 100% Sicilian, otherwise known as the only real Italians. So, but let's just stop there. So I'm not.
Ouch.
Yeah, before
I'm Sicilian.
controversy.
I'm Roman.
Okay,
I
I'm
can't
Ah,
going to
he's-
be the
he's
mediator.
German.
I'm an ignorant
Anyone-
American, so I'm going to be the.
Anyone north of the boot is pretty much German in my mind. Sicily is
Yes.
real Italy. And we Sicilians, we have Sicilian pizza. It's kind of like a thicker pizza, usually a lot of meat on it, and sometimes even fish on it, and a very, very spicy sauce, a little less focused on the cheese. That's how my family cooked pizza, and it's delicious. That's real Italian pizza. And again, let's sum it up again. The only real Italians are south of the boots. Like Sicily is real Italy, and everything north of that is pretty much Germany.
All right,
Yeah,
I'll
again,
give you a pass in that.
Oh boy. Ah,
Probably
boy.
the best argument would be that pizza in general is savory. If you put pineapple in it, it becomes a cake. So
Well, you can put pineapple and jalapeno.
I like a
They're
little.
not mutually exclusive.
Okay, everyone can make their own pizza.
Right.
All right,
We are diverse. We open for
Blasphemous.
diversity. We open for diversity. So, but there is
No,
only
drama,
one true
drama.
pizza.
We want drama and toxic masculine pizza.
Oh no. Don't go there.
No. Uh, well, Zoe probably can eat us spicy stuff under the table. So let's not start a competition.
Yeah, I mean, I win automatically. You're welcome. I saved you.
Even though we can
Save
start
you
a
some
whiskey
pain.
competition, and then we can see who drinks who under the table.
Oh, okay,
Whoa!
Francesco.
Chocolate, beer, whiskey, and yeah, I know Zoe, right? Chocolate, beer, whiskey, and hot peppers for breakfast. Now we're talking.
Oh God, that would be sick for
Yes.
weeks.
I
Oh my
dead
God.
by 11 a.m.
Yes.
Francesco, I don't
So
think
now
you
we
should
all know what's
start
gonna happen
another
in
by
a
whiskey.
11
second.
a.m.
All right. Let's get back to application security.
Yes.
Right.
It's getting sidetracked really quickly.
It works. Come on.
That's random application, random call. Anyway, we were discussing about legacy stuff. So how do we fix the legacy problem? And legacy has problem legacies, like not even Java.
You fix legacy security problems with blood, sweat, and tears. Not necessarily in that order. You're going to bleed a bit because you may have a security incident against legacy software. You got the tears, man, because you're going to feel some pain from it, and you're going to possibly have some real impacts to your company when legacy software is compromised. And then comes the sweat, right? It's hard work. It requires a great deal of re-engineering, recoding, updating third-party libraries, updating language versions. It's painful. There's no way around it. Sometimes you have
Why
to.
not?
Go ahead.
Why not just moving to something else? If you need to re-engineer, re-understand, so 90% of the application that work, and I've seen it working, is like you need to re-understand the application as a whole. There is no documentation, there is no information. Once you've done the heavy work, you might as well move to a new framework or to a new language altogether to rebuild the application.
Maybe
Right?
so, but that's going to be time-consuming, expensive.
I agree.
That's still re-engineering the software in some way.
But
There's
but
no.
you have less technical depth in that way.
But I hear you, but the point I'm trying to make is a lot of our industry wants to take the problem of legacy software and quick fix it. They want the problem to like go away and go away quickly. They want to slap up some kind of mitigating control and have the problem go away. And I don't think that's possible, is what I'm trying to say. And there's a lot of really good solutions out there. You know, I'm an investor in Signal Sciences. I'm a big fan of some of the cloud-enabled firewall technology for web applications and APIs. I'm a big fan of that work. But it just takes a lot of hard work to re-engineer legacy software so the innate properties of the software itself is secure. And my conjecture here, Francesco, is there's no quick fix to taking legacy software and bring it up to modern security standards. It takes sweat, hard work, time, recoding, revisiting requirements, revisiting frameworks, revisiting your choices on third-party libraries, and you don't get that lunch for free. It's hard work, time. That's the point I'm trying to make.
On that, I can't agree more. It's like it's painful, but it's making the subjects familiar to the board. It's like trying not to sell quick wins. And 90% of the time I see that people say, oh yeah, you can slap in a firewall in front of it or a WAF and you're done. Your application is secure. Hiding security is not actually fixing security.
And I like WAFs. I like the work of modern WAFs, again, like Signal Sciences. I think they're doing great work. And I'm not trying to say that
I agree.
not to use a WAF. I'm not saying the technology is bad. I'm just saying that it doesn't fix the software. And I can't just, even the best WAF in the world, I can't just slap it up and all of a sudden I'm secure. It's mitigating control. It's a way to stop some attacks. It's a way to give me visibility into the application and more, but it doesn't fix the underlying problem. That takes sweat.
A WAF doesn't fix business logic defect or an access control flow problem. It's like you need to reconsider the application as a whole.
What about Ivano? Ivano says that containers may work well for legacy stuff. What do you mean by that, Ivano? Why don't you jump in here?
As a stopgap measure, it could work having some of the legacy application migrated into containers while maybe you do the rework and maybe modernize them, if it makes sense.
Yeah, that's hard work, right? It's not a quick fix, but moving a legacy application into the world of containers, which helps cloud enable your application and more. That's not a bad idea. Doesn't solve the problem. It gives you some agility, but it doesn't turnkey solve the problem of fixing the inherent insecure properties of some legacy software.
I agree. I mean, the security implications will still be there. The security vulnerabilities will still be there. But think about this scenario where you cannot decommission a specific operating system because otherwise the application will not run anymore, and that operating system is end of life. Yeah. Maybe, I don't know, Red Hat 5, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5 deployment with a specific piece of software on it. You keep it on the internet, on a public-facing internet, because you cannot replace it. But if you could at least replace the foundations of that with a more modern operating system and have the legacy application run inside a container, which will make the application think it is still running on Red Hat 5, that could be a stopgap measure, or at least will reduce the surface attack in case, I don't know, you had all the ports open and whatnot, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Yeah, it could be a mitigating control, but you're still running on an old operating system. So as Jim's saying, it's like doing a risk assessment and deploying mitigating control when and if it's going to actually fix your vulnerability or reduce your overall risk. But moving on, I wanna touch a little bit based on the OWASP stuff and a couple of things specifically for Jim. So like you've been part of OWASP for so long. So what you've seen change over the time, and I'll say a very positive spin of recent and a lot of good new energy going into the OWASP board. So what's your take on it?
My take is find the place in OWASP that excites you, that brings out the positive in you. I'm on the OWASP leaders list, and I actually tried to unsubscribe, and for some reason someone subscribed me back on it, and I got sucked into like the drama of the leaders list again. And it reminds me of, I haven't been on it for a couple of years, because most of my time I spend at OWASP is keeping an eye on a couple projects, like the proactive controls, the cheat sheet series, the Java encoder, the Java HTML sanitizer, Java JSON sanitizer, the OWASP top 10 project. And I try to keep my eye on the different chatter happening within the world of OWASP projects that I think are very meaningful. and Zap is a big one. Zap is brilliant piece of work. The OWASP dependency check product, and ASVS, my favorite project of them all, the Application Security Verification Standard 4.0. I keep an eye on these and try to participate where I can. And to me, and I go to a couple conferences, and to me, OWASP is a great joy. OWASP is beginning to migrate the away from MediaWiki to GitHub to manage the different web pages and content of OWASP. It's an imperfect move like everything is, but I'm really happy to see this happen. So my world of OWASP is one of real positive. I love OWASP. I love the people in it, especially the really dedicated volunteers who are actively working on the projects. And it breaks my heart where all of a sudden I jump on the leaders list and I see like all this horrific,
everybody fighting,
all this horrific negativity. It's usually the same couple of assholes who are causing all this negativity. And Francesco, I used to be one of those a-holes. I'm not saying I'm innocent here. I'm just really—
there's a lot of ego.
Yeah, as I get older, as I get more gray hair, I'm really trying to make sure that my participation on Twitter, my participation on the OWASP leaders list, my participation on any kind of project is positive, helpful, and supportive. And some leaders, I believe, they get upset that they're not being listened to. They get upset about policy. They get upset about chapter funding. They get upset that they feel like they're not being listened to. And I see it's turned some really good volunteers into machines of rage. And if I look behind the scenes of those people, it's usually because they're stressed out. They're working too much. They got personal issues, or they're battling their own demons, or they just don't have enough time to get stuff done. And they're so frustrated that they take it out on OWASP. They take it out on the public list. And I beg the community not to do that. You know, we're a nonprofit, we're a charity. This is supposed to be a place where we have fun and we
get
help
together.
Yeah, we help the community, that we share in knowledge of Appsec. And it's really supposed to be this positive source of contribution to the world, to help make the world a better place. You know, I look back to the original mission of OWASP. It's stuck in my mind. It's like, you know, OWASP is a 501c3, not-for-profit charity. Our mission is to make application security visible so that people and organizations can make informed decisions about application security risks. All of our projects are free and open under an open source license. Everyone's free to participate. And
there are so many. I'm learning about more existing ones pretty much daily.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
a little bit
me
of an
too.
exaggeration because, you know.
But on that subject, actually, and I was discussing this with Vandana before she ran. It's like, aren't there so many projects? Too many projects, because then the focus is stretched across too many projects, and then you had the problem of funding, the problem of dedication, the problem of half-baked project. What's your take, Zoe?
Well, I think some of it is missed because, again, there are so many, and some do better on, you know, outreach than others due to, you know, limited time. We're all volunteers. We're usually not as much marketers as we are techies. So projects would be missed even among us. But I did see like one good thing in terms of helping to solve such misunderstanding and like just decentralized communications in general. Simon Bennett's Zap leader recently started a whole discussion around project integration, which I think is a great opportunity, especially as we're all, you know, migrating to GitHub, to kind of join that discussion and revisit and sync up, as well as, you know, engage new contributors and new participants to the community as a whole. Definitely understanding what's there as much as possible, and there's so much, which is, you know, part of what's amazing about OWASP. There's, you know, very specific projects that could probably speak to everyone, but at the same time, it's also easy, you know, even as a long-term OWASPer to know what is currently out there when you're trying to propose new projects and new solutions. But yeah, I mean, just generally, you know, continuing to sync up with all of it, you know, as much as possible, and ask around is always always good. And
Jim, what's your
also,
take?
You know, a lot of people in various leadership positions have tried to tame OWASP. It's it's a nature of many people. They want OWASP to be more disciplined, more organized, have different funding models, different project models, less projects, more review. And I don't think anyone has succeeded in the taming process. And so for me, OWASP is bizarre, it's wild. And I don't think anyone's ever going to tame that. And I think I accept that OWASP is a bit of a wild, bizarre, a bit of a circus. And what comes out of that are some amazing things. So, and I think that freedom to dive in, start a project, experiment is what makes OWASP so impressive. And then we have different tiers of projects. We have the lowest tier of just I've begun to do a project and we're working on it. Then we have like 2 levels of maturity. The top being flagship, the one below. I forgot the names of the project tiers. Forgive me, but those tiers are for a reason. When we look at the OWASP Foundation from the outside, it's the flagship projects that really stand out. And it's hard to get your project to become a flagship project. And so I don't want to stop that petri dish of creativity and experimentation at OWASP. I think that's what makes it great in a lot of ways. But as a project gets more popularity, as a project gets more important to the foundation, it does require additional criteria before it can be made a flagship and similar type status. And just in general, I am okay with the wild nature of OWASP. A lot of people like to give the board
structure.
Yeah, they give the board or the staff a hard time. We only have like 5 staff members and like 30,000+ consumers of our products on a regular basis. I mean, we really don't have a giant staff to handle the onslaught that the community asks of, and mistakes are going to be made. The board only has so much power. The board's usually a very hands-on board. The board's made of some of our volunteers who are extremely active. And this is all imperfect. It makes people who really want to see a more disciplined, organized OWASP very frustrated. And it made me frustrated for many years when I was on the board. But I've come to terms with what OWASP is. And it's made my life a lot happier as I relate to OWASP. OWASP is wild. OWASP is a bit of a
make that as a...
And I'm okay
chaos engineering.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah, that's the point.
It's creativity. It's creativity at its best. It's chaos, and then from chaos becomes the flagship, where they become more tamed. If you want, the flagship project is where they see more tamed project.
Yeah.
But I think that message should go out more often, because then it kind of set the expectation. This is who we are. It should be kind of a mission statement. We are a bunch of people that come in as volunteer, throw in some ideas, and some great one comes out, and then they become kind of stabilized. And it's for free. It's like people forget that this stuff is out of the goodwill of people. It's like you can't expect, it's not a well-founded project. It's just out of full contribution.
Well, there are 2 forces that are in opposition here, right? There's first of all, you have like human nature, where a lot of people, especially those who are engineers, they want organization and order. They want to bring order to chaos. But then you have the natural law of entropy. Everything breaks down, and you have these opposing forces of like the desire to organize and have everything be very clean and orderly and well set up, especially those of a more conservative bent. Then you have the natural law of entropy and the kind of wild nature of volunteerism, because we're mostly volunteers.
Yeah.
And I think those forces are in opposition. It leads to some battles than OWASP. But again, I ask the community to accept the fact that we're really just a large body of volunteers everyone's trying their best, the staff and board as well, and try to be good to each other. If you find yourself really frustrated with OWASP, getting angry, getting extremely upset, then back away. Find another area of OWASP to spend your time in, where you don't have to be so angry and so frustrated.
I have an alternative suggestion. If you want to take out your aggression at OWASP, I recommend Juice Shop Hackett.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Hey.
Takes the negativity on CTF. I like that proposal.
Yeah.
No, I like that. And I think, I mean, I had my fair share of negativity of recent. Jim knows that I'm a big positive giver and I'm always positive. And I think Twitter and a lot of this conversation behind the keyboard kind of give that kind of license to people to be mean to other people, and especially considering we are volunteering up here. It's like we are giving time for free. It's like, cut us a slack, right?
And I don't say this with the holier than thou attitude. I've been part of the problem in the past. Like I spent a lot of years on the board, like trying to fight the war of vendor neutrality. And I still do on occasion. And it made me sick. It's like some people believe that they can commercialize through OWASP. Other people believe we should be more vendor neutral. And I really waged a war to make sure we were truly vendor neutral. And I feel like I lost. But I lost not just the idea of vendor neutrality being the main theme of OWASP from an ethical point of view, but I lost track of what was important. I put all this focus on this principle instead of the focus on the volunteerism and the output of projects and the work on documentation and the participation in different conferences. That's the important stuff. The philosophy and the
politics and the rhetorics.
Although it matters to me a great deal, I do realize it's not nearly as important as the volunteerism. Like recently, we were arguing on the leaders list about whether or not people should use an OWASP email address or not as a project leader. My personal belief is we should, but there's a lot of other things that are probably more important to worry about than what email address someone is using. And I want to give a nod to Kevin Johnson. He was right. He was like, what the heck is going on here? We have 100 problems that we can be discussing. There's many other things that we could be worrying about. And we're now on the leaders list debating what email address I should be using. And while I personally think we should be using an OWASP email address, I again want to nod to Kevin that there are bigger fish to fry when it comes to spending our limited time volunteering for OWASP.
Yeah, no, I agree. And with the CSA, we have a little bit of a different structure, but we're doing a lot of stuff on a chapter-wise rather than, I mean, that there is global and that they're doing that they're all research and stuff, but I want to throw that as a challenge of, do we do more activity chapter-wise instead of per project, even as OWASP? Because then you have more control.
When people want to volunteer in a certain direction, let them go in that direction. I don't think we should force OWASP in any direction.
No.
Agreed. And to confirm, it was a coincidence that you took out the crossbow again?
Just a coincidence.
Wait. Just wanted to confirm. I figured as much based on the nature of the conversation. I just wanted, again, verification.
It's just a natural habit of when things get heated up.
Go back to your question, Francesco. Tell me again.
The question was, do we organize more groups on a local basis for projects so that we can bring people together rather than creating this dispersed group of people that collaborates across the board?
I mean, both. Some projects are
whatever works. Yeah,
some projects are founded around a local chapter organizing it. Some projects have people scattered all over the world, like the OWASP Top 10, ASVS, Cheat Sheet Series. These are participants scattered worldwide. Where other projects I don't know exactly which ones, have more of a local focus with people meeting face to face. Who cares? You know, whatever. My take is whatever gets people to volunteer, contribute, and bring Appsec down the path in some way. I think that's what matters.
I love it. Whatever works.
Yeah, exactly.
So you participate in a lot of, I mean, you are the New York one, the New York chapter, and then we had some of the London one. So what is the stuff that makes a chapter great? What is the stuff that makes a chapter work, and what is the stuff that doesn't make a chapter work?
I think when you get eagerness to help and just a lot of excitement in general, that is really the driving force. When you get people constantly, saying anything you might want on a project, or, always just looking to volunteer for anything or take the lead on anything for anything, anything in a given moment. So for example, Asta Sani, she's been a member of OWASP for a few years, and she moved from India a few years ago to the United States and is now in the New York metro area. And she's been really taking some great initiative on local academic partnerships and trying to educate. And we're now working together to get current students into the world of industry and OWASP, through OWASP, through, again, vendor neutral, the community, and, all the projects, and how that really translates, with really no comparison to the real world and industry practices in Appsec. And then they get to, but yeah, people just reaching out about that, in general, people reaching out and people feeling free to do so, and just wanting to, ideas that somebody else would not have thought of.
Creating a sense of family, creating a sense of connection, community.
Yeah. And then ideas happen that wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, I love it. So we almost reached time limit. So can I ask Jim to give like a positive note on security and a positive note on Appsec?
I think that application security is getting radically more visibility in modern programming. Companies that I would never thought would even consider application security are now engaging on really trying to teach their developers around secure coding. And it makes me really happy to see how much progress we've made. And my thinking is, if you look at an individual problem, it is a great challenge, and it might be stressful to see how much insecurity there is in software today. But if you take a step back and look at this issue of application security historically, you'll see just how much progress we really have made. And I think it's a real positive thing. And OWASP, I think it's a beautiful place. When you really focus your time and energy on looking at the active volunteers who are working on documents, projects, and conferences and chapters, and really actively doing the work, I think you'll see the real positive part of OWASP, that contribution to make application security more visible or progress it down the field in some way. And I ask all of us, myself included, try to find your OWASP happy place and let that be your focus of your volunteerism.
Agreed. And as far as the improvement and evolution of Appsec goes, it was an excellent keynote, an excellent closing keynote at last year's Appsec Cali that you can all check out the recording of. The positive direction we're all taking, and it was given by the one and only Jim Manico, actually. Sorry to, ruin the whole structure of ending by the interviewee, but it was about the interviewee, so I'm glad.
Every positive message about any great personality, and I was in there, so I listened to that talk. So I was there. I was cheering for Jim. I always love his keynotes. So anyway, I thank everybody on the call. I thank Zoe. A special thanks to Jim for coming on, and I'll see you guys, whoever it is, at Appsec Cali in January.
Looking forward.
We'll see you all there.
Yeah, guys.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Francesco.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Aloha.
Ciao. See ya, guys. Bye.
See you.
Hello. Thank you very much for listening to the Cyber Mentoring Monday podcast. We're going to have more and more OWASP members and chapter leaders and application security in this full month of application security. Please leave in the comments your opinion about the podcast. If you want to know more, if you want to know less, which direction do you want the podcast to go? And especially if you like the video part or the audio only part, I'm trying different setup and scenarios. Some might work, some might not work. Just let me know, give me feedback, because that's the only way we can provide good quality content for you guys. I hope you really enjoy, and I hope to see you soon in the next Mentoring Monday podcast. And next one is going to be with Grant Ongers, the newly elected board member at OWASP Global. Thank you very much, guys, and have a great day. Be safe and be cybersecurity safe. This is Francesco, your host, and goodbye.